my hero. You will show me what I gotta do. Made up my mind, wanna be like you, don't care what every people say. I know I'll resurface you. I know I will.
Welcome to Kendo 101. For this lesson, we'll be expanding upon the things that we've already learned from our original In-Depth Kendo guide, correcting some information alongside showcasing some new things. We have two main topics to go over, that being combat and movement. So let's get into it. Alright, our first topic is combat. So starting us off, we're going to talk about recovering from the melee combo into alpha. In my first Kendo guide, I had said to make sure that you were holding forward in order to recover fast enough to land your alpha. Now to correct this, you don't actually have to hold forward. As long as you're holding a direction, be it forward, back, left, or right, you'll still recover as fast as possible. This will help you with any kind of positioning plays that you may want to make. Following that, we're going to talk about finishing your melee combo with alpha on shielded opponents. Previously, I had stated that Kendo wasn't able to land her alpha after doing the melee combo on shielded opponents. After doing some Kendo practice recently, it came to my attention that you are able to actually do this. The only difference is that the window for landing the hit, however, is much tighter than when trying to land this on someone with direct HP. So, in order to pull this off, you'll either have to get really good at timing your alpha upon recovering from the combo, or just mash alpha and hope that you land it. Next, we're going to talk about alpha countering with alpha. When I spoke about alpha countering, I had briefly stated that from holding your shield, you could go into any other action, be it an attack or rolling. This go around, I'd like to specifically talk about alpha countering with alpha. By now, you all should already know about doing this with your melee and your clap. What's special about doing it with alpha is that not only do you still get your alpha damage, but you're also still able to stagger them. And you're still able to follow it up with your melee combo back into alpha if it's still available. Doing this technique with alpha is both the hardest and the riskiest thing to do in regards of alpha countering, but it's also the most rewarding. Now we're going to talk about the infamous double air melee. Double air meleeing has been in the game since season 1, but nobody's been able to figure out how to do it consistently. Thankfully, I finally figured out how to. There are three main components to doing this. First, your spacing. Second, your timing. Third is where you land the hit. For the first component, you'll want to be around mid-range. For the second component, you'll normally want to air melee as soon as you're slightly above the ground. As for when you land the hit, you'll have to press melee again on the frame that Kendo is in an airborne recovery state. This can be done by timing or by mashing and hoping that you get it. For the last component, the sweet spot for setting this up is normally around the average character's waist area, meaning you'll have to intentionally strive for landing your air melee in their midsection. Closing out the combat section, we're going to talk about how to build Kendo and what to level. For an aggressive Kendo, you'll want to go A4, Y9, A9. With this build, you're more so concentrated on combat, knowing how to utilize your alpha, gamma, and overall everything within Kendo's kit. With not having to worry about your shield, you're able to max out your fighting capabilities the quickest. For a balanced Kendo, you'll want to go Y4, A4, B4, Y9, A9, B9. With this build, you're gonna be a pretty neutral, well-rounded hero, not falling too much into an aggressive style of play, nor falling too much into the defensive style of play. You'll start off with early movement, followed by damage from alpha, closing it off with higher sustainability from your beta. For a defensive Kendo, you'll want to go Y4, B4, A4, B9, Y9, A9. With this build, you'll not only start off with early movement, but also your strongest defensive quirk. Having two gammas early game will definitely hold you off until you're able to build your beta. Upon building your beta, you'll then focus your alpha lastly, on the off chance that you'll need to use it. Finishing this build, you'll switch the primary focus from your gamma to your beta, thus making you the hero that stands strong for your teammates. Alright, time for the movement section. First off, we're going to talk about how you're still able to utilize the speed cards. Although the Kendo flying tech has been toned down, it hasn't been completely removed. The way that you go about using it now is primarily for burst movement. Using what we know from our advanced speed card video, you're still able to utilize a speed card in the same way everyone else does. Next up, we're going to talk about diagonal alpha glides. For whatever reason, when you run at a diagonal and then alpha glide, you'll just barely create a little bit more distance. This is something good to know for when you're trying to make specific jumps around the map. Lastly, we're going to finish things off with talking about extended alpha glides. Doing extended alpha glides is pretty simple. Upon alpha gliding off of an elevated platform, simply follow it up by doing an air melee. This will help you in a lot of cases for when you need to create more distance, be it for chasing people down, traveling around the map, or of course if you're in the process of trying to escape. Utilizing diagonal alpha glides and extending them will definitely get you to some insane places.